you, yes, you right there, strap in because the voting was wild this week for the top 10 Transformers lines. That being the toy lines, right? The ones right from G1 through every fiction that we've had right up to now. I will note that something like Generations, mainline Generations, got divided up. Mainline Generations, if the vote was for Generations, that's the 2010 to 2015 era, I suppose. After that, we started getting into the trilogies. And the trilogies themselves were also divided up. So if you voted, for example, for Combiner Wars, then you voted for Combiner Wars. If you voted for Power of the Primes, you voted for Power of the Primes, even though both, along with Titan's Return, are part of the Prime Wars trilogy. Didn't allow the trilogies because I thought that was kind of a bit of an easy out, and I wanted to make people think, and boy oh boy did they think, because the voting was insane this time around with so many close races that we actually have a whole bunch of ties along the way. Let's dive into it in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey, one hey all, I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course subscribe, and while you are at it, light 'em up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton and lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor. All the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All that in the description down below. Also in the description down below. And if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through Spring, or of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. So this is the top 10 Transformers lines, and boy oh boy, was it fast and furious. We only have one honorable mention, and that honorable mention is, honestly, one of the most recent lines, which I suppose really works because I believe it was Mark Marr who recently said that he's been hearing that, you know, he's fortunate enough to be part of the Transformers Golden Age, which made me wonder, hey, is this actually the Golden Age? Are we in it now, or have we already had it? The voters won't lie. Our honorable mention, though, is Legacy Evolution. That would certainly feed into the idea that maybe we're in a Golden Age. I loved Legacy Evolution. It had a bunch of votes, not enough to rank. It is the only honorable mention, but far from being the only line to get votes. This is going to be a wild ride with, like I said, a whole bunch of ties, including number one. Number one itself, actually a tie. Let's kick things off with number 10. First. Coming in at number 10, we have this. That's right. I mean, you could call it Car Robots if you like. You can call it RID 2001. It's the same line. Not the same fiction, but it's the same line. And quite frankly, it's fantastic. It was a great line, well ahead of its time. It had excellent designs. It's what brought us things like Rail Racer. It's what brought us things like Omega Prime. And I mean, we just had the HasLab version of that. And the original, honestly, is still really fantastic. It gave us things like, I don't know, like Hoist. I think there was a Hoist that was pretty good, if I'm not mistaken. But the thing that really stands out to me, and probably one of the most important things, was that Megatron. The one that has like 11 different modes. That was a design, that was an offering that was decades ahead of its time. Even now today, it would stand up against any current offering. Yeah, I have to say, I totally understand it. Some splendid designs, some fantastic plastic, some excellent, excellent figures. And it's all thanks to Transformers Car Robots / RID 2001, and it takes the number 10 slot. Coming in at number 9 is arguably the best fiction that we've ever had by way of Transformers Prime. That's right, the Prime Robots in Disguise line comes in at number 9, and it gave us so many great offerings. Don't get me wrong, the first edition line I think was even better than the main Prime RID line, but we had so many great molds in the main line, right up, if you want to say, through Beast Hunters. But even before that, we had things like the Wheeljack, which was fantastic. We had things like the Cliff Jumper that people still are renowned about today. We had things like the Voyager Megatron. That's quite good, really quite good. The Optimus, fantastic Optimus. The Ultra Magnus, so very good. And probably one of the best Transformers of all time by way of the Viacon. Such a simple, elegant transformation where everything unfurls from the leg and everything that is panels and whatnot with the arms all fits together nicely in vehicle mode, while also giving us a super functional robot. And that was the story for that whole line. You had kind of intricate, involved transformations that gave you really clean, beautiful alt modes, but also gave you really well-articulated, excellent-looking robots. What a great era of designs. And Prime, Robots in Disguise, takes the number 9 slot. Number 8 is a tie by way of MP, Masterpiece, and Generations. This is the fall of Cybertron Optimus Prime. And again, for Generations, I counted it as the 2010 to 2015 era when the Prime Wars kicked off. That would include the War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron designs and figures. And there were really a lot from IDW at that time too. So IDW fans were very happy to get things like a Whirl. Video game fans were very happy to get, I'll say, the War for Cybertron Optimus. Though the FOC was, you know, not a bad one either. It got panned a little bit, but I thought it was fun. It gave us the Jazz. It gave us a lanky, but really enjoyable Shockwave. It gave us things like Roadbuster. It gave us things like our first Rhinox. Generations also gave us the Voyager Sandstorm that's excellent, and arguably one of the best Transformers we've ever had by way of Springer. And I think that was an IDW design. MP is MP. It's ending with MP60 Ginrai. I've never been an MP fan. This belongs to my son. We got it for 34 Canadian. But that being said, I can't deny that it's been very popular and it's been a cash cow for a long time. And while MP is ending, I really think that we're still going to get those releases. We're still going to get those designs. It's all now just going to fall under, ironically, MPG, Masterpiece, Generations. It makes sense that they would go together just like peanut butter and jelly, and they take the number 8 slot. Would you believe that number 7 is also a tie by way of the original Beast Wars? And I'm using Silverbolt here. He's great. I love this guy. And Legacy. Now, this guy's a bit of a cheat. He actually came out in both Legacy and was a repack in Legacy Evolution. And they pretty much came out on top of each other. My version came into Legacy box, ergo it is a Legacy version. But man, oh man, look at the coloring, look at the detail on this. I wasn't even sure I wanted it, and then when I had it, I was not only happy, but I couldn't believe I didn't want it or that I questioned it, because he is solid. Excellent transformation, splendid. But going all the way back to the original Beast Wars, man, the Cheetor and the Tigatron there, I think better than the new ones that we've gotten. The original Beast Wars Megatron, he was a hoot and a half. The original BossBot, Optimus Primal, he was a big boy. Optimal Optimus, splendid if we're going to include the Transmetals. I mean, Rampage, you know, Depth Charge. But again, that's technically sort of a trilogy thing. So we go back to the originals. The basics, like Pterosaur, for example. They were fun. Yeah, they were a quick little transformation, but they gave us super articulated robots and fun transformations and really interesting alt modes with super, you know, kind of molded in detail. He's covered in it. Yes, he had a gimmick that gave him a big backpack, but like, you think of the era when this guy came out, coming off of G1, coming off of G2 with limited articulation and whatnot. And this guy has it all, and he is indicative of exactly what Beast Wars offered then and now. Yeah, the Legacy line and the original Beast Wars line take the number 7 slot. If you can believe it, 6 is another tie. Remember, ties occur when we have two topics, two whatever choices that get the exact same number of votes. For this one, number 6, it's a tie between Transformers Animated and Titans Return. Titans Return gave us all of the kind of headmasters, really. It gave us the 4 Autobots, the 3 Decepticons. Yes, there were some that were missed that we got later on by way of Apeface and Snapdragon. But at the time, man, the era was great. I would argue possibly that Titans Return went a little bit beyond what it should by making characters like Target Masters into Headmasters, or making characters like Perceptor into a Headmaster. But if you could look past that, the molds were fantastic. That Perceptor was excellent. It gave us Action Master Croc. It gave us the splendid Trigger Happy and his remolds. Granted, there were some QC issues that people encountered, like 2 left arms or something like that, and that would ruin it. But if you had one that was, you know, the way it was meant to be designed, it was splendid. It gave us the jump starters. Again, a couple of the best molds we've ever gotten, and all for a super reasonable price. People that voted for Titan's Return said it was the best era because it gave us the best designs for the best bang for our buck. Animated. This is actually a KO of Optimus. It was the first review I ever did on the channel many moons ago, but it's still indicative of the animated line, which had a great weird aesthetic, and it's being revisited now in the Legacy United line. I would argue that Optimus in the Legacy United line, it looks as good, if not better, than the original. Very wacky designs, but man, super fun. I've looked at, you know, here on the channel, Lugnut, who's a blast. I've looked at, I don't know, who else from animated I've looked at? Wrecker, who's a hoot. And so many more. Lockdown, such a splendid mold, splendid design. Blitzwing, another fun one. So it was an era that gave us really great fiction. Bumblebee, there's another one. I don't even like Bumblebee, but I like animated Bumblebee. And honestly, it gave us splendid fiction, and it gave us splendid bots. Animated is an overlooked jewel gem to this day. Titan's Return, many people say, value for money. This was your golden era. Whether you agree or not, well, that's what voters said. So, you know, it's up to you to make your own choice about that. But both of them combined takes the number 6 slot. And now a hush falls over the crowd. Here we are at the ever coveted, ever popular halfway mark. And at the halfway mark, we have one of those lines that spans Japanese fiction as well as North American fiction with 2 different names by way of Galaxy Force or Cybertron. Whether you want it to be Transformers Cybertron or whether it's Galaxy Force, it's the same line. Not the same fiction again, but the same line. This is Galvatron, who I've recently reviewed. He is magnificent. Can you believe that this was a leader class? How far we've fallen from this. How much we've allowed ourselves to be taken advantage of, because this is, to this day, amazing. Splendid transformation, the heft of a current commander class, excellent articulation all over the place, and a real impressive foreboding presence with a lot of nice paint. Then you have Cybertron Optimus Prime. I mean, do I really need to say anything more? Override. There's another example of an excellent Cybertron offering. I wasn't a fan of the Armada line at all. I'm not a huge fan of Energon, but sandwiched between those two kind of iffy, at least for me, lines, we had Cybertron. And man, the designs, the heft, the plastic, everything about it, the look was absolutely glorious. So Galaxy Force / Cybertron takes the number 5 slot. Number 4 was, and probably always will be, one of my favorite lines, even though it did suffer from fatigue, certainly by the end of it, by way of Combiner Wars. And a lot of people will say they didn't like the Combiners of this time. I did. I don't like the Legacy Menasor at all. It's not a Combiner, it's just Motormaster wearing clothes. If you like it and that works for you, cool, I'm happy for you. Let's also keep in mind that the Legacy Menasor is 3 times, at least in Canada, 3 times the price that a Combiner Wars Combiner was. As a matter of fact, Motormaster by himself costs more than what an entire Combiner Wars Combiner cost. Some people said you had to make sure to get feet and hands. I didn't get any feet and hands. I didn't need them. I was fine with the stock ones. The hand-foot gun was fine for me. And honestly, to this day, whether we're talking Defensor, whether we're talking Bruticus, whether we're talking, I'll admit, the Menasor, the torso had to be fixed. I did do a bunch of work on the Combiner Wars Motormaster. But, you know, Orthea, Volcanicus, if you really want to kind of include the Power of the Primes Combiners, though I don't think we should. But, you know, Computron, Superion. I know they're doing a new Superion, but I can guarantee you it might be as good. It definitely won't be better than the Combiner War Superion. I'll note this now. There was a couple of votes for Unite Warriors, which is the Japanese iteration of Combiner Wars. And honestly, I thought Unite Warriors over Combiner Wars was going to get a lot more votes. It didn't, and I didn't count them together, but I did want to give Unite Wars Unite Warriors, a nod here, a little caveat, because honestly, it really deserves to be kind of lumped in the same era as these. By the end, we said, man, we're getting, like, you know, mold reuses over and over, right? Swindle became Hound, or, you know, the Prowl mold, or sorry, the Dead End mold became a Prowl. The Off-Road mold became a version of Ironhide that was iffy, right? So it did kind of suffer by the end of the line, but man, oh man, I look at my shelves and I have every single solitary combiner from G1 that has been released in plastic. I have no interest in going back and paying 3 times the amount to do them all over again, when these guys function really well and look really great. I've used them in Universal Collision, so why won't I keep doing just that? If you want something different, you want something new, hey man, go for it, you do you. That's why we have so many different options and lines. But for the voters, for the fans, coming in here at number 4 is good old classics, Combiner Wars. Top 3, and at number 3 we have Studio Series. The Studio Series proper, meaning the movie bots. And a lot of people said, look, I came into Transformers, or I got back into Transformers with the live action movies. You can like them or you can hate them, but they were effective enough to get me back into the franchise and collecting again. That's the power of the live action movies. Whether you agree with it or not, it's what happened. And enough that a lot of people voted for this line and said, while the original lines were fun, while they were great for what they were, sometimes you had a lot of misses there. Sometimes you had ones where you were like, oh, I hope they do another version of this. Sometimes you had poor tolerances or overly intricate transformations that just weren't fun. And then came Studio Series, and people said, man, they just keep hitting it into the ballpark with their Sentinel Prime, with their Optimus, with their Jetwing Optimus, with their Jetfire, with their multiple Megatrons, and right now with things coming out like the reissue of the Dark of the Moon Voyager Shockwave, for example. Or, of course, this guy, the Rise of the Beast Optimus Primal. I would also venture to say to you, while the Bumblebee movie stuff and the concept art stuff got separate votes as kind of a separate line, because they are movie related as well, they also represent all of this. So anything sort of live action sort of flows into Studio Series, and enough fans love this line good enough that it was able to take the number 3 slot. Number 2 is an offshoot of Studio Series by way of Studio Series 86. And like G1 fans have said, man, this is the cartoon versions we've always wanted. I mean, we have a Ratchet, we have an Ironhide, we have an upcoming Bumblebee that I assume will be the Netflix one, like kind of recolored. We have now Blaster and Rewind coming out. It is a recolor, but they look quintessentially G1 with every kind of nod that you would want to it. What else do we have coming? Oh, we've had Studio Series 86 Ultra Magnus that was renowned. I reviewed it too. It's splendid. We have the upcoming Optimus Prime. It's an exciting time in, I guess, the Studio Series 86 line, if you're a G1 fan, to get all of these guys as though they just jumped right off the screen. Although, to be fair, both this guy and the Ratchet should never have really been Voyager, and they were both missing their stripe. Like, I had to paint the yellow one on this guy, had to put the red one on Ratchet. It is what it is. But I understand the G1 fans and their adoration for the 86 line. It's hard to argue with it, and it took the number 2 slot. And now here we are, very tippy-top number 1, and number 1 is a tie. Number 1 is the true blue golden age of Transformers, because it's where most of the votes went. It's where most of the fans gravitated. And probably as a surprise, at least half surprise to no one, number 1 will consist of, the first half being, G1. And fans said, even if you're not a G1er, you have to respect that this is the line that started it all. This was when Diaclone and Micro Man came over and started everything. And in conjunction with it, as you've probably already seen up there on the to my left, right? I don't know how you're seeing this. It's my left, your right, I guess. Siege. And like, what a splendid line this was as well. I'm surprised that Earthrise and Kingdom kind of weren't right up there, but people went Siege. And they said, look, It gave us excellent designs. It gave us Cybertronium modes for a lot of these guys. It updated a lot of characters that needed updating. A couple more of those Headmasters, for example. We got that new Springer. We got Spinister, one of the best molds, man. Plus we got the little Battle Masters, which gave us proper target masters that we were really missing. You know, like, thanks to these guys, I've really been able to fit out most, if not all, of my target masters with at least something semi-proper. Knees and elbows would have been nice on the Battle Masters. But I'm not angry for what they are, and I absolutely love this guy. He is one of many. I was even feeling very downtrodden about collecting in the collector community at the time, and it was Impactor that brought me right back in. Yeah, the Siege line is considered to be many a glory day. G1 considered to be a glory day. Both of them, probably the true blue golden age of Transformers. And they both took the #1 slot. And there you go, man. 10 down to 1 once again. And other lines that had votes. The 07 live action movie did have votes. What else had votes here? Henkai. Or Henkei, I don't know how you say it. Japanese Legends, which is basically the animation accurate repaints of a lot of those Combiner Wars and Titans Return, like that Prime Wars era. But it was one line in Japan. Alternators / Vinyl Tech, I put those together. They had a bunch of votes. Classics did. Universe did. The Revenge of the Fallen line. Transformers Selects. I'm glad that somebody brought that one up. TransArt, and though they're third party, they're still their own line. Yeah, TransArt have been doing really splendid things with Beast Wars. Studio Series, Bumblebee movie had its own votes. Gamer Edition had its own votes. Armada had votes. Energon had votes. I already mentioned Unite Warriors. Legacy United had a couple of votes. And let's see, Power of the Primes did, RID 2015 did, and let's just, I don't know, let's end things off with, let's say Kingdom. Kingdom had a couple of votes as well. Which line is your favorite line? Did it make the list or not? I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link, check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through Spring, or of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, man. Stick around, have some fun with us here on the channel, and don't forget, not for 1 second, not for one moment, that you right there, you do make a difference in the world, and I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way right here inside the videos.